Good afternoon and welcome to the Friday edition of the Noon Report. I'm Bill Carlson, and in the news this noon, one man is in custody, another remains in critical condition after a North Minneapolis shooting this morning. And the Minneapolis Dome is up. After several hours of work this morning, the covering for the new Metrodome has been inflated. In just a moment, we'll go live to the Metrodome where Debbie Ely will have a report. And Dr. Walt Lyons will bring us the latest on the day's forecast from our WCCO Weather Center. One of the new fixtures on the Minneapolis skyline underwent a change this morning when workmen began putting the finishing touch on the new Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome. Debbie Ely, who normally sits with me at the newsroom anchor desk, went out to the dome to cover that story this morning, and she's standing by now to tell us all about it. It's pretty spectacular, Debbie.
It really is, Bill. What you're seeing is the dome, which was raised this morning. There were hundreds of local and governmental celebrities, dignitaries here, among them the mayor, government officials, labor leaders, sports greats, and, of course, a whole lot of reporters. Dan Brutker, the chairman of the Metropolitan Sports Commission, opened up the event with a thanks to the many people who made this dome possible. That was followed by a brief explanation as to how the dome was raised, and then came the word to flip on the 20 fans.
Please activate the fans to inflate the roof on the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome.
And it took about 2 hours to raise the dome, which I'm told is 400,000 square feet and weighs 300 tons. As the raising started, the inside of the arena was dimly lit. And as it progressed, the color became much more translucent as the arena became lighter. Now, they didn't add any lights. That's just because the dome was raised. With me right now is William Dryberg. He is the vice president of the contracting company, which has done all the work here, Barton Melo, right?
Barton Melo, right.
And
we're the construction manager.
How did you accomplish this dome raising?
Well, we went through a lot of planning, Debbie, and it's been going on for the past 15 months. We've had a lot of teamwork and a lot of good effort by all parties that have played a part in bringing this facility to the point that you see it today.
Now, what did the fans do?
We have to pressurize. We have a total enclosed facility here. It's like an encapsulated rectangular building, locked in, and we have 20 fans that pump air throughout these duct outlets that you see around the periphery of the stadium. And with that increase in pressure, we're able to lift the 300 tons of roof that you see above you. It amounts to about 1.5 pounds per square foot of the 400 square feet that you spoke of.
Now all the gear is working right?
All the gear is functioning very well. We're right now pressurized to a rather soft condition. We will, in a matter of probably 15 or 18 hours, tighten it up a little and a little stronger pressure. But we have about 5 fans running at this point in time to maintain this position that you see it at right now.
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, for those of you who have not been in the Dome Stadium, the area directly behind me will be home plate. That cement wall back there, that will be center field. The cement slabs that you see over there will be the base for the benches, which we'll use during the football season. And as a footnote to this, Bill, Calvin Griffith, the manager for the Twins, was here this morning, and he said this is much nicer than he ever expected.
From this live eye, Debbie, it looks like a giant marshmallow, doesn't it? It's quite a place. 50-yard line still needs a little smoothing out, though. Rush back. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you, Bill.
Striking teachers and school officials resumed their talks today in Paynesville. There are 70 teachers walked off their jobs last Friday in the state's first teacher strike of the year. And striking teachers in Tracy will sit down at the bargaining table on Tuesday. The teachers and the school board are only $500 apart in their salary negotiations. Yesterday afternoon, the school board and the Albert Lee Education Association reached a new tentative agreement, and that pact could keep the schools open in that southern Minnesota town. Teachers remain on the picket lines in St. Cloud, Deer River, and Prior Lake. Those strikes have idled more than 1,000 teachers and stopped classes for 15,000 students. Money is the key issue in all 3 of those disputes. Unless weekend negotiations produce settlements, teachers in the Cambridge-Isanti district will walk out on Monday. Teachers in Anoka-Hennepin, Howard Lake Waverly, and Rockford plan strikes for Tuesday. An official of the Professional Air Controllers Union on the East Coast says striking PATCO members may soon have their jobs back. He claims that a high-ranking government official has said the Federal Aviation Administration wants the controllers back desperately. The FAA is denying that statement, says no talks are going on with the fired controllers. Locally, PATCO workers have filed suits seeking clarification of the law under which they were fired. It's not strikes, but the lack of jobs that is plaguing nearly 8 million Americans. According to the Labor Department, the nation's unemployment rate jumped to a 5-month high in September. 7.5% of the American workforce is pounding the pavement looking for jobs. And for blacks, the numbers are even worse, hitting a record high of 16.3%. In his news conference yesterday, President Reagan said his economic program will create 13 million new jobs over the next few years, but unemployment rates might fluctuate in the meantime. Once again, Minnesota has come up short in its revenue collections. In September, $27 million of anticipated revenue didn't come into the state treasury. During the first 3 months of the current biennium, the state has brought in about $60 million less than anticipated. About $10 million of that amount will be recovered from the federal government. Minnesota farmers are no doubt happy to learn that grain sales to the Soviet Union should hit a new high this year. 23 million metric tons of wheat and corn will be offered for sale to the Russians, triple the amount previously made available to them. The deal could total as much as $3 billion if the Soviet purchase is as much as is expected. Regional dairy farmers are also getting a bonus, but it isn't likely to last long because Congress hasn't approved a new commodity support program. Milk price supports automatically went up 3% yesterday, but lawmakers are working to roll back the increase. The House voted yesterday to drop the level of the supports, and the Senate is likely to approve the decrease next week. In the meantime, the dairy support increase is costing the government $1 million a day and threatens to drive consumer prices up. Coming up in the Noon Report, a union election in Poland and a presidential election in Iran.
Say, where's that Colonel's place? Colonel Sanders, back there a couple of miles.
It's fried chicken, please, they say.
Even better. He does something real special to it.
It looks good.
At Kentucky Fried Chicken, you can still get chicken cooked the Colonel's special way with 11 herbs and spices. Original recipe. Lots of places cook chicken today, but no one's come close to the Colonel's original recipe.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, we do chicken right.
It is the French, you know, who invented the crepe. So when I heard about Stouffers crepes, French honor demanded. I tried them. Oh.
They are magnifique. The beef burgundy crepes, the ham and Swiss cheese, the spinach with cheese sauce, delectable. For lunch or dinner, a triumph.
Stouffers, all France salute you.
Keep the winter winds where they belong, outside your home. Hoyt vinyl framed inside windows are the tightest windows on the market. Made in the North Country, for the North Country, they're custom-sized, triple-glazed windows with a full 20-year warranty. Hoyt takes out your existing windows without damaging the inside trim. There's no mess, no inconvenience. We can do your whole house in one day. Hoyt's heat-welded, spring-loaded windows mean strong construction and easy operation. Call Hoyt today.
Poland's Solidarity Union is in the midst of a power struggle today. 3 radical union officials have challenged the leadership of Lech Walesa. The election takes place today, and if delegates to the union's National Congress give the nod to one of his opponents, Walesa threatens to quit the union and, quote, write novels, sign autographs, and make money. Meanwhile, the union is facing more Soviet charges that it's blocking attempts to improve Poland's chaotic economy. In Iran today, voters are going to the polls to elect a new president, that country's 3rd leader in less than 2 years. Religious leader Ali Khamenei is considered certain to win the post left vacant by the assassination of former President Rajai. Iran is being blamed for yesterday's attack on an oil field in Kuwait, a complex near Kuwait's border with Iraq. Tehran has denied that 3 of its warplanes bombed the refinery, but Washington says that U.S. AWACS spy planes tracked the jets from Iran. The bombing was the 3rd reported in Kuwait since the start of the Iran-Iraq war a year ago. In less than an hour, President Reagan will announce the biggest defense plans of his administration. Mr. Reagan is expected to tell the nation of his plans for rearming America, including the MX missile and the B-1 bomber. Washington sources report the president will give the go-ahead for basing 100 MX missiles among 1,000 underground shelters buried in the West. They also indicate he has decided to produce 50 updated B-1s and push development of stealth bombers. Those planes can apparently elude radar detection. Congress has allocated nearly $5 billion for the weapons programs. For 23 years, the Duluth Airbase was responsible for radar surveillance of 900,000 square miles of the United States and Canada. But today, the hum of the main computer at that base can no longer be heard. The facility is slated for closing at the end of the year, and yesterday, officials pulled the plug on the computer. Radar surveillance of the area is now the responsibility of a New York center. Duluth and state officials continue their search for a new use for that airbase. A final decision is expected later this month. The victim of an apparent homicide attempt is listed in critical condition after surgery this morning. The shooting was reported just before 5 o'clock this morning at 15 North 15th Street in Minneapolis. When police arrived, they found the wounded man and rushed him to the Hennepin County Medical Center. Police say they do not know the identity of the victim, but they do have a suspect in custody. Minneapolis police have been ordered to stop their confiscation of gambling devices sold by a Minneapolis firm. Minneapolis Tipboard Company sells apparatus for raffles, pull tabs, and tipboards to nonprofit organizations. Police have ordered the company to halt business on Tuesday, but the owner of the firm went to court. Yesterday, a Hennepin County District Judge issued a temporary restraining order preventing the police from seizing the devices. A hearing on the injunction will be held on October 17th. Meanwhile, police say they'll continue their investigation to determine whether any of the devices are illegal. A man convicted of killing 2 North Minneapolis children will face a new trial. This morning, the Minnesota Supreme Court ordered the new trial for David Patrick Zimet, who is sentenced to concurrent 15-year terms in the deaths of the 2 children. The court ruled that information which might have helped Zimet in his original trial was withheld by prosecutors. The deaths of the children occurred in a fire in their home in 1977. In just a moment, Dr. Walt Lyons will provide us with a look at the weekend weather forecast, and Noon Report television specialist Neil Gendler will discuss the controversy surrounding the television movie Sydney Shore.
Now, the next generation in skincare, Estee Lauder's new age-controlling cream. While only nature controls the aging process, Estee Lauder's age-controlling cream helps control the signs of aging, dryness, and the resulting fine lines and wrinkles. It is Estee Lauder's new Super Nourisher. See improvement the first day. Discover age-controlling cream, part of Estee Lauder's new Swiss age-controlling skincare program at Dayton's Cosmetics.
Save this week at Super Value on no-nonsense regular sheer, queen, and knee-highs just 97 cents. And get $1 worth of coupons on Diet Pepsi and Pepsi Light. Look for this display at Super Value stores.
Apple Crisp lovers, this is for you. It's Kemp's Apple Crisp Ice Cream. Another Kemp's limited edition ice cream flavor. Apple chunks and crunchy graham cracker crisp blended with cinnamon and apple-flavored ice cream. Real apple crisp goodness, along with creamier, smoother Kemp's ice cream. Kemp's Apple Crisp, a special limited edition ice cream flavor that tastes as good as you think it will.
Pizza, pizza, good God.
On the next John Davidson Show, special guest Betty Davis looks back and has no regrets.
No guts, no glory.
Then Hot Lips herself, Loretta Swit, looks ahead.
I am leaving MASH, yes.
Plus, Shirley Jones reveals her unusual show business start.
If it was ever done in the movies, nobody would believe it.
3 great guests worth singing about on the next John Davidson Show.
She's a lady. Yeah, she's a lady.
Hi, I'm Muriel Humphrey Brown. Would you like to have a great evening and benefit the Children's Cancer Research Fund?
Paul Anka's special performance has been rescheduled from October 18th. Plan now to attend the benefit concert on October 21st. For reservations, call 854-9300.
Dr. Walt, I understand they needed just about perfect weather for the raising of the dome, and just about perfect weather is exactly what they got. Huh?
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I knew you had
people ask for it, they get it. A lot of people called me up and said, last night we want a hard freeze, so we gave it to them. Yeah, we did have it last night. We have, however, added 16 degrees onto the overnight low temperature. The current conditions are not quite as blustery or unpleasant as they were yesterday. 47 up from the 31 officially recorded, our first official freeze of the year, or this new season at least. 60% humidity. The winds have swung around and are now blowing in the exact opposite direction, southeast at 7, and the barometer has gone over the top. It's falling from 30.26. Well, the jet stream did it. We can always count on the jet stream. If this was the middle of winter, we would have had a huge mass of cold Arctic air over the area with snow covering much of the region, as it was only northern portions of our viewing, or well, at least the state got it. But out west, they'd still be basking in summer, which is exactly what they are doing out there. Our big problem is, can we get some of the western warmth in here? Yes, but there's a fly in the meteorological ointment. Take a look at this morning's lows. It was chilly, all right, under the jet stream here. 10 to 20 degree temperatures all over the area of western Ontario. Dove right down into portions of Wisconsin and Minnesota. Just about everywhere recorded a freeze in those two states. And if we take sort of a tighter look on the overnight lows, as we mentioned, we had 31, but it got down as low as 16. It embarrassed Minnesota. They have nothing to be embarrassed about. It was 14 right across the border in western Ontario. So that's it. We've lost just about all of the vegetables, with a few exceptions in the heat of the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. If you're looking for fall this weekend, the northern part of the state has been pretty well blown away. There are some patches of color left, but you have to wait till the weekend after this to find a really good color in the immediate area. But if you go north towards Taylor Falls or west, things are improving quite a bit. As far as this current satellite picture, severe clear all over the place. Lake snow squalls over Lake Michigan have produced some flurries down there, but that's not our problem. Our problem is going to be what's going to happen with the weekend. Satellite, you can see that, of course, the upper Midwest is clear, but we're sort of surrounded on at least 3 sides by showers, which have produced the first rain in 5 months in the southwest, and this whole system is organizing, and while it moves our way, it's going to bring warmth, but I'm afraid some chance of wet. For the remainder of this afternoon, we'll be dominated by high pressure, but the clouds associated with this will begin to creep in tomorrow, and it looks like a chance of showers both tomorrow and on Sunday. As far as today's high temperatures all over the state, they're going to start to slowly rebound into the 50s and even the 60s in the extreme west. 70s and 80s will not quite reach here. What do we see coming up in the details? Well, let's take a look at it. As far as the forecast then, tonight, or the rest of today, sunny up around 58 degrees for high. Overnight lows tonight under clear skies, 42. That's not bad. It certainly isn't freezing. Winds are picking up in the southeast at 10 to 18. Tomorrow, we're going to see some sun, but also increasing high clouds, and the chance, I'm afraid, of some showers developing as the day wears on, high of 66. And that's also pretty close to Sunday's forecast. Not a bad weekend coming up, but you're going to have about 1 hour of rain thrown in. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, main threat of showers is Monday, so hopefully all in all the weekend will be a hit.
But in the meantime, for now, severe clear. I like it all.
Right. And do you ever get the munchies this time of year?
Occasionally, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, a viewer asked the other day, does the change of the seasons affect your appetite? Turns out the Army did some research. They found out when they moved their troops from the tropics to the polar regions, they eat about 1,500 more calories a day without gaining weight.
Oh, that's the excuse, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Monday night, we finally get our first local look at Sydney Shore, the TV character whose homosexuality became a source of considerable complaint this summer. The comedy series Love, Sydney is to start later this fall on NBC, but first there's a 2-hour movie called simply Sydney Shore. It's scheduled for 8 o'clock Monday on WTCN Channel 11. Noon Report television specialist Neil Gendler takes a look.
I can't believe the folks who object to Sydney Shore ever saw the movie of the same name. Sydney Shore, the movie from which the series Love, Sydney is derived, is a 2-hour triumph for Tony Randall and for human values. Randall steals our hearts as Sydney, an aging New York commercial artist whose life spirit is evaporating from loneliness. One night when he's too lonely to work, Sydney goes to a movie and meets Laurie, played by Lorna Patterson. They end up at his huge apartment, and because it's pouring, Laurie decides to stay over. That's when we learn of Sydney's homosexuality, and it couldn't be handled better. She tells him she's staying over, but not to try anything.
Me? You don't have to worry about me.
I'm not worrying about you. I'm just asking about you.
I'm answering you. You don't have to worry.
Oh. I get it. Oh, well, that's good. That's good. I'll see you in the morning then. Good night.
That's it. All the fuss for that? Well, not quite. There's more. To compress it into a few seconds, Laurie moves in, ultimately giving Sydney a transfusion of zest for life. She also stays out some nights, becomes pregnant and lets Sidney talk her into having the baby. As Laurie's career grows, he ends up raising little Patty. Ultimately, Laurie wants to marry and take Patty to California. Sidney takes Laurie to court for custody. Okay, so this requires some suspension of disbelief, but take my word for it, it works. It's tasteful and it's touching. It's also good viewing, far superior to most of what passes for TV entertainment, which is one reason I have no patience for the complaints of one Reverend Donald Wildman, the boycott man. He's unhappy that Sidney's gay, Laurie sleeps around, and Patty's illegitimate. But those are the elements that make up this show, and I applaud the way they're treated. Whether Love, Sidney, the series, will be as good is another matter. Most series derived from movies are boring. For one thing, NBC has knuckled under and said Sidney's sexual preference won't be mentioned in Love, Sidney. For another thing, the movie has moral values and a statement against abortion that could please even Jesse Helms.
And what about Patty?
Don't make me ungrateful, Sidney. You've been too good to me.
I don't care about gratitude. I don't care about goodness. There's just one simple fact, finally, and you've got to deal with it.
What?
I love her more than you do.
How can you even say that?
I can say it because I've thought about it. Who loved her first?
Sidney, I've loved her from the moment
I mean before she was born.
There you have it, the despised homosexual as a pro-lifer. Perhaps those who see the world in absolutes can't deal with such conflicts. But the rest of us, who live in the world as it is, should love Sidney Shore. To not love this show, you'd have to be made out of stone. I'm Neil Gendler.
Coming up in just a moment, an auction of a pair of shoes that once walked down a yellow brick road. And Bill will talk about some Midwesterners who made good in the movies.
This is our noodle soup, Mrs. Grass. This is their noodle soup, and they're in for a little trouble. First, we're giving them a knock to the noodles. Our noodles are bigger, and there's 50% more of them. Then it's a blow to the broth. We've come up with a golden nugget filled with rich chickeny flavor. When people taste Mrs. Grass noodle soup, Lipton, watch out. Good just isn't good enough for Mrs. Grass.
What a sad ending. Did I cry? Hey, these aren't my puffs. You can tell in the dark. My nose can. Puffs are the softest, feel less irritating. That's your brand. Here's my puffs. How'd you tell? Close your eyes. Compare. This feels softer. You chose puffs. Nope, my nose did.
Puffs, your nose knows the softest, even in the dark.
Here's your chance to put spray and wash on the spot. Try spray and wash on a stained shirt or blouse. If it doesn't remove the stain, they'll buy the shirt for $15, guaranteed. Use spray and wash as directed. If it doesn't remove the stain, except dried paint, rust, dye, or permanent ink, Syntexize the shirt with this label or this cap, and they'll send you $15. One shirt per family. Offer expires November 30th. Spray and wash gets out what America gets into. Or you get $15.
People said we couldn't improve Bolt. And for a long time, we couldn't. But thanks to new technology, we've made it better.
I don't believe it.
It's even more absorbent.
I don't believe it.
More absorbent fibers are now locked inside each sheet. The result, Bolt is so absorbent, so strong, people prefer it to both Bounty and Viva.
I don't believe it.
Try new, more absorbent Bolt.
Wall Street is moving to higher ground today despite the increase in the nation's jobless rate. At noon, the Dow Jones Industrials are up 4 points in vigorous trading. Debbie?
Bill, while some folks are putting their money in the stock market, others invest in movie history. And how many people have a chance to own a pair of shoes that have been to Oz? Yesterday, a California couple successfully bid on one of 3 pairs of red shoes worn by Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz. The price tag? $12,680.
Expensive leather. You take a comedian from Second City in Chicago and an actress with mainly classical background. You add a thoroughly British director plus a location in the Rocky Mountains. What do you have? Watch this. Chicago-reared John Belushi and Guthrie Theater graduate Blair Brown team up in the new movie Continental Divide, Belushi's first attempt at an essentially straight role. Director Michael Apted.
This is one of the reasons I needed Blair, which was the other side of the coin, because John had to learn how to do it. And one of the ways he learned how to do it was from her. Not in any kind of teaching way, but just in the way she approached a scene, approached the part, approached each day. The fact that he and Blair got on well, and the fact that he had a great respect for Blair because she came from another tradition of acting, I think helped to draw out that relationship.
John Belushi plays a Chicago reporter doing a story on Blair Brown, a Department of the Interior researcher aggressively protective of her endangered bald eagles.
We're from the Department of the Interior, Game Protection. What the? Tell it to the judge, all right? You have the right to remain silent. If you choose to speak, anything you say may be held against you. You have the right to a lawyer.
Hey, you know, that's a $900 shotgun.
Do we need the cuffs for you? Now, here's how it's going to be. I let you go down the mountain on your own recognizance. You report to the ranger station at Fort Creek. Talk to Captain Clark. He'll have your names. Have you got that so far? Captain Clark. Oh, one other thing. If you don't show up there in 3 days, you'll be hearing from the FBI.
Okay?
It is a departure, and I like that kind of feeling of being able to switch, shift gears. But it wasn't really a conscious effort on my part to do it for that purpose, or career-wise, some type of ambition to do that. It just happened to work out that way. And a lot of it was then the director, because the script I had for 2 years. But I wouldn't do it until a good director came along. And unfortunately, none did come along, so we had to do it ourselves.
We did it without planning. That's about halfway through when we were making Continental Divide, I thought this movie must be really junk, because we're having such a nice time. I was used to so much stress, you know, and that everything had to be painful.
It's always grim. And if it's good, you know it is.
And when it's bad, it's really bad, you know.
If it's bad, you know it's bad. And if it's not so good, you know it's not so good. Mm-hmm. But we knew this was good. Like in Animal House, I knew it was great. Mm-hmm. You know, in other ones, I knew it wasn't so great, but we could get away with it, you know? They'll never know.
They'll never know, but he's done plenty of both good and bad. School for Scandal is what Blair Brown did at the Guthrie.
She looks like her career is going places. Well, that wraps up this week on the Noon Report. We'll be back with all the news at noon on Monday.
In the meantime, join Pat, Dave, and Doug for all the later news, 5, 6, and 10, and have a very good weekend.